Hello everyone, Squared Circle Wrestling is back with another episode which includes AEW reportedly have special name planned for CM Punk's return show. Is Sting wrestling Goldberg in his retirement match? Becky Lynch shoots at WWE. Wresting veteran calls Maryse a natural beauty. Big name being considered for match at WWE Summerslam. AEW has reportedly booked a massive name for AEW All In, and much more. You can check the complete list with time chapters in the description box below. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel for all the latest news. Our first story for today looks at AEW reportedly have special name planned for CM Punk's return show. As reported by Dave Meltzer on the recent Wrestling Observer newsletter show, Tony Khan's major announcement will be about AEW Collision's debut. It was reported Tony Khan will likely have AEW Collision announcement on upcoming week on Dynamite. It will also bring with it a new deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, confirmation of the date of the debut that is thought to be going down in Chicago's United Center on June 17th, and the long-awaited comeback of CM Punk on the Second Coming show. He added, that title is thought to be a take on the debut of AEW's Rampage show, with that August 10, 2021 episode, one that saw the return of CM Punk to wrestling, going by the name of The First Dance. That show also went down in the United Center and was massively built around Punk's return, despite the fact he was never officially confirmed to appear. Next up, is Sting wrestling Goldberg in his retirement match? Goldberg's retirement match could involve one of the greatest wrestler of all time. Nick Hausman, the legendary booker, recently spoke on having Sting involved in Goldberg's retirement tour. First of all, I'm actively in touch with Bill. I'm working on a date right now. I don't promote much these days, but every now and then something fun comes up and it's worth diving into. So working on a day in Jerusalem, Israel, for September of this year, and that would involve potentially both Goldberg and Sting. That doesn't mean we are getting Stinger versus Goldberg, as details on the issues involved with getting Sting were discussed. Then on the latter, you have the AEW clearance issues, of course. So that's something that I really hope to put together, only because I've been in touch actively with Bill and then also with his agent, Barry Bloom, who is a longtime good friend. They are working on exactly what you described, but to my knowledge, it still needs to all be nailed down. Now that said, I would not be surprised to see Bill end up back at WWE for something massive. Will Sting wrestle Goldberg or have a tag match with him? He said Sting need to go on a high note after having a legendary career for over 4 decades. He said, so what else is there for him to do really at this point? He's been the top guy in the world for decades. He's well liked. He's well respected. He's still reasonably good in the ring. He's a guy that absolutely could afford by every metric and measure to go out on top, so why the heck would not? Having Goldberg versus Sting can be problematic considering their age factor, and having two legendary baby faces battling each other will have a big booking question on who will win. Next up, wrestling legend wants The Rock to come back to WWE and wrestle Roman Reigns. Mick Foley on his Foley is Pod podcast spoke on The Rock returning and having the dream match against Roman Reigns. It depends. If WWE know now that they can have Rock in a main event for WrestleMania 40, with Roman's streak at that point surpassing 1,300 days, that would be a majestic match. They could have a heck of a feud without the title too, Foley continued. But if they feel like they have The Rock in reserve, I think Roman holds the title, which might be why they divided the title, creating a new World Heavyweight Championship. Final answer, if Rock's in the works for WrestleMania 40, I'm okay with Roman holding on to the title. Would you like to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns main eventing WrestleMania 40? Let us know in the comments below. Next up, Becky Lynch blasts at WWE. WWE superstar Becky Lynch blasts on WWE on the recent episode of My Love Letter to Wrestling podcast. She said that she doesn't want celebrity guests like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny getting the WWE spotlight real wrestlers deserve. I want to see the people that love this, that work for this, that are there working year-round, making the towns, wrestling 4 days a week and not being home to see their family, not being able to take vacations because this is a 52-week-a-year gig. And I want them to get more, and I want them to wrestle on WrestleMania. That's what I want. I don't care about the celebrities. She added, you don't sacrifice like we do for this business, you just come in for the spotlight. And good for you and thank you for bringing in some eyes. But that's not what this business is built on. Next up, WWE asked top star about stadium show in their home country. WWE ventured to Canada in February for Elimination Chamber, and to Puerto Rico for WWE Backlash, and the events proved out to be massive success for the company both financially and in terms of fans' engagement. There is speculation that WWE could explore new markets sooner than later, and one of those areas could be the home country of top WWE superstar Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch told on My Love Letter to Wrestling podcast, we were just talking about a WWE stadium show in Ireland. Yes, I gave the venue and all. They already asked, we can have one. I don't know that we have the population to sustain it, but I think when you have the UK and Europe so close, absolutely. Next up, WWE officials reportedly very impressed with top NXT superstar. According to a latest report from WRKD Wrestling, NXT superstar Bron Breakker's recent change in attitude was a big reason behind not being called on the main roster. The report also indicated that WWE officials reportedly were very impressed with top NXT superstar and have plans for him to be called on the main roster soon. Regarding Bron Breakker going undrafted, we've heard there were tentative plans to draft Bron to the main roster, but officials are so impressed with his heel persona. He remained in NXT to better cultivate his character. There are tentative plans to call him up after Summerslam. Next up, big name being considered for match at Summerslam. WWE held its premium pay-per-view Backlash at Puerto Rico, which proved out to be most profitable Backlash of all time. Hip-hop star Bad Bunny returned to Puerto Rico and got kind of reception usually reserved for legends such as Steve Austin and The Rock. Speaking to Sportskeeda's Unscripted, wrestling legend Savio Vega praised Bad Bunny for his performance, hinting that the sports entertainment giant is interested in using him again at SummerSlam. He said, "Won at WrestleMania, and this singles match against Damian Priest. He's natural. You know, they take him step by step all the way to the end, but he has the mentality. He has the power, he's hungry for that. He loves it, he wants to make it good. He has it, and I hear they're maybe talking about SummerSlam for him. I don't know. They know what they're going to do." But Bad Bunny hit the ball out of the park. Next up, Wresting veteran calls Maryse a natural beauty. Former Divas champion and Miz's wife Maryse is undoubtedly one of the most beautiful women to step foot in WWE. It was also rumored that she was hired because of her stunning and appealing looks. The Miz and Maryse are also stars of super hit series Miz and Mrs. on USA Network. Vince Russo and Dr. Chris Featherstone were asked whether Endeavor should fire or retain Miz and Maryse moving forward. He said, "They can be reset. First of all, Maryse, and I've said this all the time, she is a naturally beautiful woman. Facial, she is a stunning woman. Here is the problem. They have their Miz and Mrs., and they are babyfaces. They are likable people. So, why are they heels on the show? Does that make any sense to anybody?" He added, "We're watching Miz and Mrs., and they are likable, and they're parents, and we got kids, and we got mothers-in-laws, and we get into that whole aspect, and then all of a sudden, on the TV show, they are two completely different people. Why would you do that, bro? Does that make any sense to anybody? Why would you do that? So, if it were me, I would 1000% completely reset them. They know what they're doing. They are pros. They've got over a decade of experience on television. They are in the wrong roles, bro." Next up, Bully Ray comments on Don Callis' AEW heel turn. Wrestling legend Bully Ray on the recent episode of the Busted Open Radio spoke about Don Callis and his shocking heel turn, turning on his long-term ally Kenny Omega. "I was very happy that they allowed it to breathe. That's been your biggest pet peeve about AEW since day one. It seems like they go from one thing to another so quickly that you're not allowed to fully take it in and digest it. And last night, I was able to emotionally invest in what Don Callis did. Emotionally invest in his turn. Look at people's faces." He added, "There's only one thing I wish Don Callis would have done a little bit more of. Play to the people in the ring and the cameras, and not the people away from the cameras. Tiny, tiny little thing. I would have liked to have seen more of Don Callis' face. I would have liked to have seen more of Don Callis looking at the BCC or looking at Kenny." Next up, reason why WWE added Smackdown to the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Speaking on WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament, Dave Meltzer on his Wrestling Observer Radio explained why WWE added SmackDown stars to the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. He said, "I will tell you Monday, Friday, and Wednesday, all three of those shows were booked 100% to Hail Mary. We got to try to save as much as we can. AEW is basically booking a pay-per-view on Wednesday night. They're coming back and putting the Raw World title. If people are wondering why the Raw World title is in a tournament on SmackDown, this is the reason. Because they know a normal show right now will do a poor number, so they cannot do a normal show this week." Meltzer explained, "AEW knows the same thing. We know what these numbers will end up doing. Wrestling fans are definitely getting benefited greatly by the fact that both of these promotions know that this is a bad week with that Warriors-Lakers series." Next up, AEW has reportedly booked a massive name for AEW All-In. Dave Meltzer on his Wrestling Observer Radio reported that NJPW star Will Ospreay is currently factored into plans for the big AEW show in London. He said, "Will Ospreay, as of a couple days ago, was booked on the show. I do not know his opponent. I do not know the match, but he was booked on the show." Meltzer also addressed Ospreay's impact on AEW's television ratings in the UK, saying, "For the UK ratings, the biggest series of events, not every single week, was last year when they were building up Forbidden Door and Will Ospreay was on the show. That was really a peak of UK ratings. There were a couple of times that they beat that later but not on a consistent basis, and that was also with a move to a better time slot. But in that bad time slot, that was the high point. So, whatever it means in the United States, who knows? In that country, the idea that Will Ospreay has never been a big star there, well, he's a big enough star to move the ratings more than anyone else." Next up, Becky Lynch speaks on winning WWE Women's Tag titles with Lita. WWE megastar Becky Lynch was on Mark Andrews' My Love Letter to Wrestling podcast. Lynch said she doesn't think WWE planned to have her win tag team titles with Lita. She described it as a side road being taken. Well, it was all a bit crazy winning women's tag titles with Lita. When that was decided, I don't think that was never meant to be the plan. And then they just took a side road and decided that would be the best outcome. And I think what was so great going into that match was that nobody knew what was going to happen. And people had ideas and this could happen and then we could go this way or we could go that way, and there was so many ways we could go, and then to be standing side by side with the woman that inspired you to get into this in the first place. When we're talking about that grassroots thing of being back, and I was coming down with my dyed red hair and my baggy pants and wearing my thong outside my clothes and trying to look like Lita. And here I was standing side by side as an equal about to go capture the tag titles. If you're telling your teenage self that's gonna happen when you're older, teenage self would slap you across the face and tell you to get realistic. You know what I mean. So yeah, it was really awesome, but she's over the years become such a great friend and a mentor, and I think because she was that misfit. That little rock and roll grunger that had big dreams, and she recognized that in me. That it didn't necessarily fit the mold, but I had that love for the business, and I think we've kind of been kindred spirits in that way. Sometimes as a babyface, I almost don't know how to interact with other babyfaces because the man is so untrusting of everybody because she's been burned so many times that sometimes I'm like, hello friend. I feel very awkward in that setting, but if I was going to have a tag team partner, you couldn't ask for better. But even having gotten to do the story with her last year, as short as it was one of the stories in wrestling that I've been most proud of and one of the matches I'm most proud of, so now I've had a lot of history with the person who inspired me the most. The woman who inspired me the most, which is great. She added when asked on what's left that Lynch wants to accomplish. I do want to win the Money in the Bank briefcase before it's all said and done. Before it's all said and done, I want to win the Money in the Bank briefcase and also wrestle Beth Phoenix. I've been trying to get her for years. She's been dodging me. And that is all for today's news. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel Squared Circle Wrestling for all the latest updates.